Well, we really went hard. That high, huh? We're all the way up to the nipples. But what is up, football fans? But most importantly, UFL fans, welcome to lucky number 13, the 13th episode of Polar Opposites. Man, it's crazy. We've done at least 13 weeks of this. I think we may have skipped 1 week, so maybe 14 weeks of this. Webb, how are you feeling after 5 weeks of UFL football?
Personally, I love the league, obviously. As a fan of DC, not so much, but you know that feeling.
I mean, I'm a Houston Roughnecks fan, so I'm right there with you. Yeah. But this week, it's going to be me producing and co-hosting with my man Webb, and then our official host in the background is KB. KB, say what's up.
What's up?
There you go. We're all here. We're all ready. And I think that means it's time to roll the music. All right. Like I said, this is lucky number 13. And because it's number 13, we're feeling just a little bit edgy with our fan question today. Do you know what I'm talking about, Webb?
Oh, yeah, man. Drink up.
Drink up, brother. I'm going to do this one on camera. Drink up, brother. My brother came in and watched me editing the last week's episode, and it was at the point where you said, "What's up, brother?" And my brother goes, "Dude, no way you're pulling sketch crap on your show." I was like, "Sorry, man, we're doing it." But our fan question of the week today, which, if you don't know, our fan question is a question that we ask on the show. We give you our answers, and then we want you as a fan to comment on the show, your answer and why. This week, it's a fun one. Best beer or drink for watching the UFL. I think this is a fun one. Obviously, you know, a lot of us are adults here. The league itself is sponsored by the Rocks Tequila, you know, probably by Spike DeZoa. I don't know. So I think it's fine that we get a little edgier and we talk straight up about alcohol in this episode. And if you are not 21, you know, if you do drink these drinks, let us know. It's cool. We're not ID verifying you in the comments. But if you are sober, if you're too young, let us know what you drink, man. Maybe you love pounding Capri Suns during the game. I don't know. I don't judge. I love that. That's badass, man. That's cool. I used to drink Capri Suns all the time. But Webb, what is your go-to drink?
It's Dogfish. When I'm watching sports in general, it goes back to 2004 when you were like 5 years old.
I was 9, but okay.
I was 21. All right. And
that's crazy.
The Red Sox were in the playoffs, and I'm a diehard Boston sports fan.
Well,
and I was in college, and I was living in an apartment and away from my roommates. I locked myself in my bedroom, listening to Journey, "Don't Stop Believing" for Game 7 against the Yankees for 4 hours, or however long the game was. And I was pounding Dogfish IPA. And if I had to use the bathroom, I had a can, man. I was a college kid, so I was good.
You listened to that song? Yeah, KB's laughing in the background, and for good reason. That's insane. But so you listened to "Don't Stop Believing" on a loop?
Oh, this is 2004.
Hours.
Well,
like that's it was insanity.
That was the name of the CD that I created, because it was back when you burned CDs.
Uh-huh.
And it was a lot of, like, you know, classic arena jams. And from the 7th inning to the 9th inning, and the Red Sox were killing the Yankees, that song was on repeat. But for the first 6 innings, it was kind of a mixed CD. So
nice. Okay. Kind of like Jukebox Hero by Foreigner. Even Flow by Pearl Jam. I dig it. Yeah. I dig it. Mine is a Coors Light, the Silver Bullet. I'm a simple guy, and I have both of our choices right here. So I'm a Coors Light simple guy. I like IPAs. I love IPAs. I used to bartend, and I went through a huge IPA phase, as most people who bartend do. And the thing I found amongst all the bartenders that had been doing it for a while was that you try all the beers and you get super into it and you become a connoisseur, so you can tell people what you think they'd like. And then you get sick of it and you end up back at where you started. Like, everybody either was drinking Bud Lights or Dos Equis for their shift beers afterwards, because you just go back to Old Faithful because that's what you enjoy, and it doesn't need to be that complex. And I went back to my Coors Light. I love Coors. I love when the mountains are blue. It's, you know, it also I don't feel it too hard. So if I am drinking it throughout the whole game, I'm not belligerent or anything afterwards. And I think it's just a cool, refreshing beer. Like there's nothing I'd rather crack after finishing mowing my lawn in the Texas heat, you know? So I love drinking it while watching my Roughnecks. Fun fact, what?
Fun fact. Have you ever had Keystone Light?
It's disgusting.
Well, first of all, it's a Coors Light. It's made by the same people, and it's a Coors can. It's a Coors can that they use with a dent in it, imperfection. That is a fact. I will let you know. Get a Coors Light, a Keystone like 12 pack, you know, while you're mowing the lawn, and check out every can. And it is a Coors can with imperfections on the aluminum. That's a fact. So
Keystone or Keystone Light?
Keystone. Well, Coors Light, Keystone Light. Yeah, Keystone Light.
No way.
100%. That was my recession beer, as I called it back in 2007.
Oh man. Okay, so
you know what I mean?
I love Coors Light and I love saving a buck, but I don't know if I can be as white trash as pounding Keystones while I mow my lawn, dude. I'm already in Texas. I already wear like cutoff shirts. I can't go that far. far.
And you root for the Roughnecks. I get it.
I mean, we're the working class team. I get it,
Yep.
but come on, son.
All
like
right,
that's too much.
So let me tell you this. I Googled, and it says, while Keystone Light and Coors Light may be related, they are not identical. And while much of this evidence points to the possible correlation of Coors Light and Keystone Light, even the non-corporate experts claim the rumor to be an urban legend.
Oh.
The dented can? Is that the dented can?
I assume that's the urban legend they are speaking of. Maybe
the
you just have
or the same product.
You just have a burned palate and you can't tell the difference. You know, that old man palate.
No, they taste different. They taste different. I'm just saying the can itself that they use to bottle.
That the can is a Coors Light can.
It's the Coors Light reject can.
Okay,
yeah.
You have me. I thought you literally were saying it's just an imperfect Coors Light that they put a different name on.
The actual aluminum is the imperfection.
Okay, I get what you're saying. All right, so that was our fan question. You now know our go-to beers, drinks. Let us know yours. I think I love that question. I think what your drink of choice says a lot about you. And I just like getting to know our fans, man. I literally posted a question today trying to learn why my fans are following me on Twitter and, you know, what I can do better to get more followers. So
dashing good looks.
The sweat, dude. Yeah. I am sweating in here. My wife is like, close the door. And it just gets super hot in my studio. So sweating, but we're moving on. Okay. Let's talk about me beating you. So last week we had 3 polls. It was the first week in 2 or 3 weeks that we had 3 polls from the episode. Everybody voted on who they thought won. I won 2 out of the 3. So like we say, champ is here. The champ is here.
I got you. The one thing I will say, this is the first week that I won the game pick week and I actually lost. Like, these
weird,
people
right?
watch this episode and I let them down. They finally joined me because I was getting smoked when I was 4-0 and you were 2-2 and I was getting smoked in the poll. Finally, they joined me and I let them down and I apologize. And I think 100% of the reason why I got the vote is because you picked the Houston Roughnecks. Let's be real.
Yes. And then I think after, I don't know, even before the game, before the Defenders and Battlehawks played, everybody agreed with me that the Battlehawks versus the Stallions was a better championship pick. And then they went out and proved it. So that was pretty cool. And the Stallions, they definitely proved it too. So, you know, that was cool. Less cool that I was there, but I had a great time. My wife was with me. I had a great game. I very much enjoyed it. We ate hot dogs. Actually, we ate burgers. It was a good time.
We actually, UFM was at 2 games. Jay from Defending Football was at Audi Field. So he is the curse of Audi Field. And we banished him from DC from here on out.
You're never allowed back. We lost our first home game because you were there.
Stay in Buffalo. Yeah, stay in Buffalo, Jay.
Was he a Guardians fan when they had the Guardians?
No,
he's always been a Defenders fan?
Defenders fan.
Wild. Then we have our power rankings. Real quick, I like these rankings. I think they're good. The only thing I might change now, I might put Memphis lower than the Roughnecks just because I think getting us week 1 was good for them. they look like a garbage fire. I think that, we're not good, but we're better than Memphis. What do you think?
I think the rankings are good. I don't like the fact that St. Louis keeps stealing first place votes from the Stallions.
Yeah.
Because no one's proven to beat the Stallions. St. Louis, when you look at the score for those that vote and didn't watch the game, that game was close in the third quarter, and then DC just quit. Like, they just quit and they put it on.
They did.
So I don't think that gains them closer to Birmingham. Birmingham is the class of this. And I put San Antonio above St. Louis, but that's just me.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. I don't agree that... Wait, you put the Brahmas above St. Louis?
I did.
That's wrong.
St. Louis is my number 3.
I don't agree with that, but I will say this week, the big deciding factor was who could get it going on the ground. The only team that really didn't absolutely dominate on the ground, but still did well on the field was St. Louis, because they do have that full-on passing attack where even when their ground game isn't going, AJ McCarron is still able to get the ball out. The receivers are still that sure-handed. I think they're the most complete offense. Whereas then the Stallions, they didn't look like, honestly, Adrian Martinez made their offense work against the Roughnecks. He got them out of a lot of times where they would have been at third down. He had 138 on the ground. They didn't look amazing passing. Like, I think St. Louis looks like the most complete offense. The most complete team is still Birmingham. I think that the Panthers, with Wes Hills and Matt Coburn both getting going, dangerous team. The thing about San Antonio is that they find ways to win. They lost their quarterback, still winning. They lost their kicker. I mean, their kicker hadn't kicked a field goal before he got hurt, but still winning. Now they're signing new quarterbacks. It's like no matter who San Antonio puts in there, the AJ Smith offense just seems to be working. And Wade Smith has those guys inspired. I really like that. DC, it's literally like they're just missing something to get them going on offense. Like there's an Abram Smith sized hole. Memphis is a absolute garbage fire.
Hey.
Oh, God.
Honestly, your team and my team, we talked about this on DC Defender Show. Would you take Troy Williams as starting quarterback right now?
No.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. That's dead serious. Dead serious.
I think right now, Troy Williams, who was their backup quarterback, he gives them an opportunity to win because he's a little bit more mobile than Coach.
I like the mobility.
He's a gamer. He was connecting to Overton, which made me have nightmares because that was supposed to happen with the Maulers. He was connecting, like he was able to get. He has the longest play in UFL history now. He beat McCarron's record.
Dang.
I just feel like I would take Troy Williams over Jordan Ta'amu right now. So.
Well, I agree with Ta'amu, and that's because, so this is what I'm looking at the most, is that the Roughnecks' problem was not their passing game. It really wasn't. It was the fact that we had literally nothing on the ground, and so they were able to just drop into coverage. Mark Thompson touched the ball 4 times. TJ Pledger, people aren't very afraid of him, and for a decent enough reason. Reed Sinnott is not the problem. He throws a fantastic ball. I think he moves well in the pocket. Our offensive line is starting to step up. He was only sacked, I think, twice against the Birmingham Stallions, who had 9 sacks in a game. So I think that's not the problem. The problem really is the fact that this offense was built around Mark Thompson and he's not there. Whatever. I'm over it. The quarterback, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I don't think Troy Williams makes that much of a difference. I think it might even hinder us in the fact that Troy Williams was less accurate than Reed Sinnott. He had some interceptions. He had some errant throws. They look bad. Jordan Ta'amu, falling apart. I do not know what is wrong with him. He is throwing bad passes.
There's no identity.
It's just
DC has no identity. You lost 2 wide receivers to the NFL. We talked about it before the show. You lost Abram Smith. You lost 2 guys on the offensive line. You lost Briley Moore, who was a safety. I know everyone's pointing to the quarterback, and they all do that.
Well, the fact is the quarterback doesn't have a supporting cast, and that's hard.
And he can't. He won last year and was Offensive Player of the Year because he had talent around him.
Yes.
He struggled in Tampa Bay in the USFL because he did not have talent around him. I feel that people are going to point at Jordan Ta'amu.
Yeah.
And it's his fault, but I don't think it's 100% his fault. I think it's a team effort.
I will say the pressure got to him towards the end of the game. He was making bad decisions. He was throwing bad passes. Troy Williams, I think he played better this week. So would I take Troy in DC? Yes. Would I take him in Houston? I just wouldn't. Reed Sennett has proved he's a good quarterback. I mean, he has like 6 or 7 different receivers catching balls a game. Like he's doing good things. It's not his fault. So no, I would still take Reed. Although I asked CJ today, like, hey, Nolan give you an extra dimension? Maybe we roll with Nolan. And he said no. But I digress. Let's move on to our game picks. Here we go. We agreed a lot this week, man. 75% of the games we agreed. And we almost were 100%, except you changed a game. I feel like it was just out of spite, but that's okay. How do you feel, though? I went, 3-1 last week, and you went 2-2?
Yeah,
I'm catching up to you.
Yeah.
2 games behind.
Yeah. Through 6 weeks, I'll still be in first place, regardless what happens here. But I did switch today. Originally, I had DC beating San Antonio, and I had Michigan beating Arlington. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I switched it, and we'll go through all the games, obviously, but I'll explain it in a bit. I don't want to waste all the time because then I won't have any mojo for those 2 games. But let's start with the Stallions and Showboats, man.
Let's start with it. Let's move to it. And, you said let's start, so you go first.
Stallions are the best team in the league. Showboats are struggling. I think, even though I love Troy. I just got done talking about it. I don't think he has a chance against this team because I think, didn't they just give up eight sacks, right?
They gave up 9 sacks to them the last time they played.
A couple weeks ago. And then the following week they gave up, they got 0 sacks. So obviously they are doing something well against the Showboats, the Stallions. But the biggest thing here is that I just don't know Memphis on defense. Like, we went into the season thinking Memphis would have a solid defense, and I just don't think they have a solid defense. And I don't know what happened to it because last year they were pretty good. And it seemed like they were bringing back a lot of guys, adding a few pieces here and there. But Memphis defense will not show. I think the biggest question mark going in this game is who's starting for the Stallions, right? That's the biggest question mark. I don't know if Holtz came out yet.
Yeah, super interesting thing that I learned at the Houston game. I don't know if a lot of people go and watch the press conferences, but I was in the press conference after the Houston and Stallions game. It's funny. Skip walked in and he looked at me sitting in the front row and he said, "Wow, I didn't know this press conference was going to be a one-on-one." There's nobody there. For some reason, the Houston news outlets are not covering the Roughnecks. So it was me, this dude from the Houston Chronicles, and this dude from Huntsville, Alabama, from a news station that came all the way all the way over to watch. So I got to just sit from, me to my computer with Skip Holtz, and I asked him questions. And he said that every Wednesday is the deciding day of who is going to start at quarterback. Tuesday and Wednesday, the quarterbacks go at it. And then whoever wins the competition in those 2 days every week is who starts. So it's not like they're flip-flopping or anything. Like, he literally is like, hey, Tuesday and Wednesday, you have to show me it. And then Thursday, that's QB1, and they're getting the snaps for the rest of the week. And I thought that was very interesting. Like, he really was giving us a glimpse beyond the veil, and we got to see the method of the madness, right? And I thought that was very interesting. And so he has decided today, and I'm sure we'll find out tomorrow probably, who's going to be the starting quarterback. I would probably think Adrian Martinez. I love Matt Corral. We're going to talk about that later in another segment. But I just think whoever the Stallions put at quarterback, they're the one team that's playing so well on all cylinders that it really doesn't matter who starts quarterback. I'm gonna pick them to win. They're killing it on all sides of the ball. And Memphis is falling apart. Their defense, I think they are severely lacking that Troy Warner is not there. That dude led the team in tackles by a lot. He was a safety blanket. He was really keeping the deep plays from happening. And their team's just falling apart. Their offensive line is in shambles. The fact that 2-time all USFL right tackle Jaron Jones looks lost is scary to me. But, the higher we go, the harder we fall. Let's move on to game 2. And game 2, I'll go first. It's my game. I don't like it. I'm not happy. I don't want to watch it, honestly. If we're being honest, I haven't shot my shows this week yet because it's hard to motivate yourself after watching a beatdown like I watched last week. But what I've heard is that a lot of the players on the team weren't even texting each other, weren't even talking on Monday at practice. The Stallions like beat the soul. Someone literally said the Stallions beat the soul out of the Roughnecks. And I don't know. I don't know how we're going to come out this week. This is a rally or die week, and we're doing it against the number 2 overall team in the league, hands down, at their house, which is the loudest house. And I don't know, man. We haven't been getting pressure on quarterbacks, and this is the one week that pressure really matters because the quarterback doesn't run that much. Oh, CJ said today in the media call that he wants to have 20 to 25. He wants to get Mark Thompson the ball. He wants to run him the ball. He said that last week and he got 4 touches. So I don't know what to do or say about this game. I've got St. Louis beating us by a good amount. What do you think?
So this is your blowout of the week?
This is probably my blowout of the week, dude.
Wow.
They beat the soul out of us. The Stallions beat the soul out of us.
I guess.
Brutal.
I have a question for you since you are
okay,
Mr. Know everything about the Roughnecks.
I was literally
source.
One of 2 dudes in the press conference. So yeah, apparently I'm the guy. What's up?
All right, so I saw your question to CJ after the game, and it was about the tight end going out, and that's the reason why Mark got less touches, correct?
Yeah, apparently.
Is that a legit answer? Like, I'm gonna ask you. You watch them every single game, but to change your game plan 100%, you said going into the game 20 to 25 touches.
Yeah.
For the best offensive player like that you guys have going into the season.
Yep.
That came back from the same staff. So there's continuity there. It's not just some guy that's got
same playbook.
Same playbook.
Like arguably better offensive play.
How do you change your game plan because of an injury? And I get that things happen, but like to go from 25 to 4, and I get you're down, so you're throwing the ball, but like, okay, you're already down by a lot. Why not just run the ball and just like try to get Mark some game reps?
No, and the answer is no. The answer is you should not have to change your game plan that much. If your team is good enough to run in 12 personnel, they should be good enough to run in 11 personnel. If your running back is that good, you should still be able to run with 1 tight end in, or even out of no tight ends, running XYZ and a running back. You should still be able to do it. You should still be able to create holes. You should still be able to do counters, all these things. And so, no, the fact is that felt like coach speak at the time. It felt like he didn't really have an answer, and he didn't want to just flat out say, no, they were beating the brakes off of us, and so we had to pass, right? We felt like we didn't have enough time to run the ball, to set up the run. Woody Brandom going down should not have stopped, our run entirely. And we picked up a new tight end this week. Obviously, they're going to activate Clint Sig off of the inactive roster, and he's a fantastic blocker. But it shouldn't have stopped us from running like that. And I think that because of comments like that and the fact that we're hearing things during the week and that we're seeing completely different things during the game has created a lot of mistrust between the fan base and the coaching staff, the team. And it's hard, especially being kind of the media personality face. I don't like to say that I'm that guy, but I'm that guy, right? Like I'm the only person out here who's like, guys, we're still going to do it. We're in this, blah, blah, blah. And this week is just really hard to say that after, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to say that when you feel like you're being told you smell roses, but you only feel thorns, Yeah.
I
don't know.
I don't think this is the blowout of the week. I want to go on the record. I think you guys keep it close because I think St. Louis is walking in thinking they are on top of the world because they just beat their biggest rival in their place last week. And I think this is an opportunity to
kind
catch
of a hangover
St. Louis
game?
maybe sleeping. Hangover game. Because I thought there were 2 teams that came across like they were arrogant. And St. Louis was one of them this past week. So I think this is the perfect time to catch St. Louis.
Okay.
Because you might be able to catch them sleeping a little bit. And then you can give Mark the ball 20 times because you're still in the game. So.
Ooh, doggy, I wish. All right, let's go on to the next game. Your start. This is the one where we disagree, and I'm very interested to hear why you think the Renegades will win.
Okay, because no team goes 0-10, and I think Michigan is that team that you can't trust. No, but you can't trust them. Like some weeks they look solid on offense. Like this past week, they were able to run the ball, but who are they playing?
The Showboats.
Yeah, which we call dumpster fire. And I
Arguably
get
the worst team in
Arlington
the
is
league.
0-5. I know Arlington's 0-5, but honestly, like I hate the PFF grades being
I think
the
Memphis is the
NLBL,
worst.
but Arlington actually rates kind of in the middle, closer to DC than they do to Houston and Memphis. And I just feel actually a couple weeks ago, Arlington was above Michigan in these grades. So like I just feel that if they're going to get one, they're going to get one here. And they'll be able to beat Michigan because I don't trust Michigan. I think their defense is solid, but I don't trust their offense. Ellen has not like impressed me. I'm personally, I can't wait until Bryce Perkins gets put in. He might be one of my favorite quarterbacks in this league. I think he fits this PJ Walker-ish kind of mobile.
Don't get my hopes up, man.
But so I feel like Luis Perez, Bob Stoops, the veteran team that Arlington is, they can put it together. Their season's not like they're playing spoiler. Their season's over, but like they are playing spoiler. If they're in the USFL conference, this game obviously would be huge because they could still get there.
Yeah.
Because even the 1-4 Houston Roughnecks can get there still in the playoffs. Yeah, they're still in it. And Arlington can give you guys can give this league an opportunity to have an actual playoff race because it looks like if DC loses this week, the XFL is set. Birmingham's in, so we're all fighting. You guys are all fighting for that Michigan spot right now, and I think Arlington can pull you off. It can help you. I said at the beginning of the year they're going 2-8.
You're like, this is one of the two.
No,
this is it, baby.
Michigan. This is one of the two that like I predicted them to win. So like I'm going to stick with it because I don't fully love Michigan.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. I hear you with Danny Etling. You know, he has flashes, but he's still making bad decisions. Still looking like the pass game. You know, everybody thought that their pass game was really getting going, but if you look at it, it's really Marcus Sims had 2 humongous passes in 2 weeks that kind of inflated the passing stats. Without those, they really weren't doing anything in the air. Etling came in and he's not looking much better than Perry was throwing the ball, but the run game is getting going. And why does that matter? Because the reason that the Renegades lost last week is because they could not slow down John Lovett and what is his name? Morgan Ellison?
Ellison.
Morgan Ellison and John Lovett did whatever they wanted to do when they got the ball. There was one run that I felt fake. Like I was emoting too much watching the play. I was like, ooh. John Lovett was just running through people. I think that the Renegades pass rush is fairly decent, you know, middle tier of the league. Nothing to write home about, but it's not the worst. But I think that their rush defense is abysmal. And I think that if they couldn't stop John Lovett and Morgan Ellison, they're not going to stop Wes Hills and Matt Coburn. I just don't see it happening. So, you know, that, and then what else hurt them? Alize Mack, tight ends. I think Cole Hicatini is better than Alize Mack. Like, I just think that, yes, the Panthers offense is not elite. It's not the best in this league. It gets carried by the defense sometimes, but in this matchup, it matches up very well. And so I think that they, especially being at home, I think that they take the Renegades. I think they win by a touchdown.
It was 15-0 for Arlington this past week against San Antonio, and then they came back and tied it up and fell apart in the fourth quarter against a team, San Antonio, that took it like it was a Super Bowl. AJ Smith was on, like, first of all, being obnoxiously.
He was being weird.
Arrogant.
Was he not being weird about it?
Like what?
Was he not sitting like this?
Their own 4 team, man. Yeah, like
he was like sitting like this, like
I just read.
We're coming for Donald Payne.
Yeah. I'm like,
and I was like, what's your problem?
So
this team's 0-4, and you're like, this is our Super Bowl. No,
they were winning by double digits, and they were still throwing the ball in 2 minutes. Mm-hmm. So Arlington might not have matched up against San Antonio, but I think they match up well against Michigan. And actually, you talk about the run game. You know who their top defensive player is? Jalen Redmond, the defensive line. Their run game up the middle actually is pretty solid. And Wes Hills doesn't really break it on the outside.
It did not look like it against John Lovett, dude. John Lovett and Morgan Ellison went up the middle. They were going straight up the middle.
They're faster. Hills is more like
Matt Coburn.
Like Matt Coburn, you got a better argument, I think.
He hits the holes. The fact that they have a literal thunder and lightning, I think it's the best running back room in the league. hands down. Wes Hills and Matt Coburn. The fact that both had great games in one game is really impressive.
They're better than Birmingham. Come on.
Better than their running back room. Yeah. I think that Birmingham's offensive line is really the strength. The offensive line.
Ricky Pearson.
Yep. I think that their offensive line and the fact that they have a quarterback who can he put up almost 140 yards on the ground last week. The people are paying attention to a lot more things than when they're watching the Panthers. The Panthers can just straight up run it on you, and they're going to run it, and they're going to do it. Like, no T-bone formation, no gimmicks, they're doing it.
All right, talk about
no notes.
Colburn. No, you talk about Colburn. He's their third leading rusher on the team. So I'm just throwing it out there. Like, he had a good game.
EJ Perry's a beast.
He had a good game, but come on, he's not.
All right,
Matt
fine.
Colburn from
well,
2022.
Then let's talk about someone
who
who didn't have a good game. Who didn't have a good game? The DC Defenders. Tell me about this week and why you picked the Brahmas. So this is the first week. I would like to point this out. In USFLA Polar Opposites history, this is the first week ever that you and I have both picked against our own team.
Yeah.
Why'd you pick the Brahmas?
DC's at a crossroads for the franchise. Like, they're at a crossroads for the franchise. They lost all that talent on offense. Tiamu, and we talked about this on DC Defender Show. So these guys are NFL practice squad guys, right? So they're not the top guys in the getting prepared for the season, training, all that kind of stuff. A lot of them have jobs, like in the off season, right?
Isn't that weird? Isn't that super weird? They go home and you just like run into this guy who was scoring touchdowns on TV, and I don't know, he's like a welder.
Yeah. Well, I interviewed Tez, and he was just picked up a part-time gig during the holiday season for the last episode of Hammer Time, and he was mall security.
Yeah, I was going to say, he works at a mall, right?
Yeah, he was walking around with a ball on my show.
Yeah,
and like he was working security, and like, so these guys put in a lot of effort, and I'm not taking that away from them. But I feel that by that 28-29 season, 27-28-29 season, it's starting to come to an end, right? Mm-hmm. It's starting to. They're not all LeBron, who have put all that money into their body. Tom Brady, all that kind of stuff. These guys don't have those resources. So I feel like DC's at that crossroad, and they are one of the older teams, especially on defense. The Davin Bellamy's of the world. Tiamu is 28-29 now. Mm-hmm. Like this is an older team. Kelvin Armling. They just cut DJ Swearinger, who spent 8 seasons in the NFL.
Yeah,
well,
he's like 35, is he not? He's super old.
Yeah, but this is an old team, and this is a crossroads game. DC has not shown me anything all year of true fight and true grit. They have 2 wins against Arlington and Houston. Some consider those 2 the worst 2 teams in the league.
Our power rankings consider them the worst 2 teams in the
league. Exactly. So I just feel DC's at crossroads, and this is my blowout of the week.
Yo,
they lose. They get embarrassed. This is the crossroads game, and I don't see them coming back. 2 weeks ago, I thought they were able to compete with Birmingham, and they have fallen apart. What I saw at Audi Field was disgraceful, man. They gave up in the third quarter. Like, the game was close. The defense kept them in the game after all those turnovers, and the offense can't produce anything. And I don't care if they're on the 2-yard line. Like, they struggle to run every single down.
Yeah.
Like, they struggle to complete passes. You're on 30-12. You have an open wide receiver, and the guy's looking to turn his head, and he drops the ball on one of the biggest moments of the game. They have to punt. St. Louis comes down and scores. They give up big plays because, Greg Williams is sending 48 guys on a blitz, and he's
pulling dudes off the sideline.
Yeah. Like, we got illegal men on the field, and then you go, and this is the worst part. And I love Davin Bellamy, and I love Reggie Northrup, but during that game, St. Louis lost a couple of offensive linemen, and they were down to just 5. Like, if one guy got hurt, they were going to have to put a tight end, a tackle, or a guard, or something, or a running back, or a defensive guy, whatever. They didn't have enough offensive linemen. And Bellamy and Northrup get interviewed on the sideline, and they just come across arrogant, and like, they are still trailing in the game, and they came across confident, and they got their ass whooped. And this team just has not proved anything to me. And I just feel like this is the crossroads game. And I love Reggie Barlow and I read Von Hutchins and I believe in them, but their roster building might have been a little bit off because they drafted all those guys. Where's Trent Harris been? I just want to know. He had 9 sacks last year. I don't know if he has one.
That's the wild thing.
And then you cut Tim Ward, and what's he doing for San Antonio? I know I get a lot of crap from Josh because at the beginning of the season I was like, oh, you guys took our leftovers. But in reality, looking back on it, Tim Ward's producing while Trent Harris has done nothing. Davin Bellamy, I'll keep saying his name. Reggie Northrup, like linebackers, offensive line is terrible, and we don't even got the guy that spits anymore. I think this is the blow of the week.
Secondary looks bad.
No, see, here's the thing, and we talk about this all the time. The secondary is not bad. It's really not. But like, if you leave a corner on an island all the time and they're not Darrelle Revis, they're going to get beat eventually.
Yeah,
you got Conley, who's 5'10", 6 feet tall, going against Hakeem Butler every single play.
Dude, he going down that dude
by himself. Like, eventually McCarron's going to connect with him. They don't adapt, and like it just seems like this team's lost. And it's over if they lose because now there's no way they can catch up. So this is a must win, but I don't see them winning.
I agree. So my reason for picking the Brahmas is that the DC Defenders lost their fight, dude. They didn't have the stamina. They didn't have the grit. They didn't have the fight. Testicular fortitude at the end of the game to really try and pull ahead. Like the St. Louis Battlehawks, they're younger. They have more firepower. And like you said, the defense, I don't think the thing that's really killing me is that we thought the two best defenses were going to be the Houston Roughnecks and the DC Defenders going into the season. And I think that they then built rosters that didn't exactly fit what the defensive coordinators wanted to do. And both of them were like, screw it, we're still going to do it. And it's just not working. That's why there's no production. You know, the two teams that we thought would be fighting for sack leaders are not getting sacks. Like, they're not getting as many turnovers. It looks bad. And I think a lot of it is coaching. But then when I was watching the games this week, it looked like you could tell which team had a winning record just by the effort. All the games. The Showboats looked awful tackling. The Defenders looked brutal in the fourth quarter trying to tackle. It was painful. And then the Renegades, dude, they weren't wrapping up at all in the fourth quarter. Like the fourth quarter, all the teams that had losing records, if they weren't winning, fell apart. They couldn't tackle. They couldn't stop anybody. You could tell that their will to play was gone. And so I think that right now, San Antonio has a lot to play for. They're right on the coattails of the St. Louis Battlehawks. And the Defenders, you said it, they're older guys. They have jobs to go back to. You know, they'll start getting in their head and rationalizing it. Say, I've won stuff before, you know, I've been in this league. Maybe next season. They're giving up. And I don't like that mentality. I hated seeing, dude, day one football is tackling. Come on, man. I hate seeing people miss tackles. Trash, man, trash. So I think that they've lost their soul. Like, it may have been only the fourth quarter, but I think a little bit of DC's soul was beaten out by St. Louis.
I would love to come on next week. Well, are you going to be here next? I don't remember,
nope.
But you won't be here. I would love to come on next week and say that I was 100% wrong. I would love to say, like, hey, man, they proved something, and you don't know ball, Webb. Like, I'm okay with people saying that if they prove me wrong. But I have not seen one game this year where I'm like, okay, I see something. And now we're halfway through the season and they just don't got it. So that's my blowout of the week. 32-18 was my score prediction. And I think it's 32-12. I think it's 32-12, 32-10. In the fourth quarter, they just get a late touchdown.
Oof. Well.
And AJ Smith, I can't stand you. I just want to say this, Josh. I know you watch every episode. Him, like, they're curmudgeons. Like, that coach staff, I can't stand. I can't
the high
stand
waist,
their coaching staff.
High waist Wade, and AJ Smith. Well, we really went hard. That high, huh? We're all the way up to the nipples. But
you won't see this.
that was our first topic, was our game picks. KB, what is our next topic of the night?
We're going to talk about players that are underrated, overrated, and just right.
Okay. So underrated, overrated, just right. This segment, Webb and I each have picked 4 players to ask the other person, hey, here's a name. Are they overrated, underrated, or just right? In public eye, public opinion. And it just so happened that we have 8 total players that we're going to name, and 1 is from each team. So all 8 teams are covered. You're going to know, is one of your star players underrated, overrated, or just right? Number 1, Webb, I give you Jake Bates. Is the man underrated?
Overrated.
Wow, that was quick.
Overrated.
Woo! Why?
Hey, real quick, name who's got the lowest field goal percentage in the league.
Jake Bates.
Jake Bates, right? Out of anyone that has connected at least 7 field goals. Yeah, right? So there's 5 guys, there's 6 guys that have connected for 7 field goals or more, and he is the lowest rated. The rest are in the mid 80s. He's below 80. He's at 79%. Right? So
All
I'm
after
just
1
saying,
week,
does he have a big foot? Yes, he's got a big foot. Am I rooting for the guy? Yes. But like we talked about him going to the NFL last week, and then what does he do? He misses field goals.
That's exactly what I thought of. I was like,
he's 7'9", but like the Russolani from Arlington.
Yeah,
I forget how to pronounce his name. He gets cut, man. He went 5 for 6 at least. You know what I mean? Like
I don't understand that cut, dude. He must have pissed someone.
And then they bring in the next guy, and he goes 4 for 5. So like together they're 9 and 11, which is a better percentage than my boy Jake Bates or your boy Jake Bates. So I think he's overrated. It's not that I'm rooting against him. I just think he's overrated.
Well, I'm asking your opinion. I don't need to give my opinion, but I kind of also agree that right now he does look a little overrated because, he did miss the field goals. He does lack a little bit of the, repertoire. It's really cool story when you're like, he hasn't kicked a field goal since high school. But when you look at that as an NFL scout, you're like, well, we'd kind of like somebody who'd been kicking since high school, How do they handle adversity? Things like that. I will say he missed 2 field goals and then he made his 3rd. So he didn't let it completely get to him. He still made it. But who is your first person that you're giving me?
Destroyed. No, I'm just kidding. I'm giving you Matt Corral.
All right, Matt Corral. This man, I bet a lot of people think I'm about to say overrated because he's a stallion, but no, underrated. I think he's underrated because he's underrated on his own team. I get it. Skip Holtz loves having 2 QBs. He has them duke it out Tuesday and Wednesday to see who's going to win it. But I think Matt Corral, as far as arm talent, is like the best in this league. The dude he's an NFL quarterback. Literally, he was a 3rd round pick, and he really does show it a lot of the time. He wins, between him and Adrian Martinez, he comes in and he has to play a rain game, still manages to win it. So I think it sucks for him. Nobody wants to talk about him anymore because Adrian Martinez, he puts up a lot of yards with his legs, but did you see him against the Roughnecks? He really wasn't lighting it up in the air. And Matt Corral comes in, and I just think he is the better all-around quarterback, but nobody wants to talk about him anymore because he's very underrated, because he's undervalued. Trade him to the Roughnecks. Trade him right now. Pull a Renegades of last season, send him over here, and let us go be the underdogs and win the championship. How about it?
Zach Potter's not doing that, man. I agree. He's underrated. He's underrated for the most part, but right now he's QB2 in my opinion on that team. So
ridiculous.
That doesn't mean he's not talented, but Martinez definitely fits that system a little bit better. So
I agree with that. But player number 3, my next player for you is Jontre Kirkland. I had to give you the Brahmas. You hate the Brahmas so much, so I had to give you a Brahma.
I like this guy, man. I don't know what the big deal is. He's underrated. 34 receptions, 70% completion ratio with Dormady throwing him passes and Chase Garbers. He's completing all the targets are going to catches. Is he QB1 in the league? Probably not. I mean, wide receiver 1 in the league? Probably not. But I would take him in the slot any single time. I would take him over any guy in St. Louis outside of Hakeem Butler. I would take him on any guy. Ja'Cory Pearson. I would take Kirkland first. Deion Kane might be ahead of him, but everyone else on the Stallions, I would take Kirkland. DC, I would love to have Kirkland. Let's be honest. In DC, Houston, you would love to have Kirkland.
I would love to have Kirkland.
He fits the system perfectly, and he excelled last year with the Roughnecks before he got hurt. He's underrated. I think he should get a shot in the NFL. I know he's a little small, but he should get a shot in the NFL, definitely. So I think underrated.
I absolutely agree. You watch this dude, he's winning contested catches all the time. He's running good routes. He's finding separation. I love Jontre Kirkland. I will disagree. I think he is ahead of Deion Kane. Deion Kane has so many bad drops, dude. Ever since week 1. The dude just drops the ball. I think he tossed one up for an interception week 1. Like, yes, he has the speed. He has the deep playability. But if you're looking for an all-around, we need a guy to catch it right now. Jontre Kirkland is the best in the league. I think he's just the guy that if you need someone to catch the ball, it's clutch time. I trust him. I honestly do. So I love that you put him underrated.
Respect that.
This next one, I know you're attacking me. Who's your next one?
Chris Odom.
Chris Odom. All right.
Give me the 4-1 on Chris Odom because he was Defensive Player of the Year in 2022. 2023, obviously, he was hurt. 2024? Question mark.
Yes. So it is a question mark. And he came in, a lot of people before the season, you know, who's the one scoping out what everybody says about the Roughnecks, right? It's this guy. So I knew what everybody was saying. A lot of people were like, hey, we really need him back. He's going to help a lot. A bunch of other people said, I don't know if he's not going to be the same player coming off of, you know, a torn ACL a year away from football. So it was a lot of mixed opinions. I'm going to go ahead and say that he's just right. People were worried about him. People, you know, some people thought he was going to be the best in the league. Some people thought he was going to fade into non-existence. He's still getting tackles. Every game that he's played in, he's had a tackle for loss. And all but one game that he's played in, he's had a sack. I think he is producing. He's still on a team that has nobody on the defensive line pulling away. He's still putting up decent enough stats that I still think he's 1 or 2 on our defensive line. Just right. I think at this point of the season, people aren't really talking about him, you know, but he's still getting the love when you're watching it on TV a little bit. I think it's just right. I think he's playing just enough for that. Otherwise, I don't think he's underrated. It was either just right or overrated, but because he has produced a sack in all but one game, I'm giving him the just right.
Gotcha. I kind of agree. He leans more to overrated just because he does bring that.
I agree. The defensive player of the year and everything. I get it.
Not just that. He also got the guaranteed contract with the Browns, right? Mm-hmm. Before he got hurt. He got the real.
He spent a whole season with him on IR.
Not an invite. Yeah.
Literally just making money to rehab, dude.
And the one thing that drives me crazy, he complains about leg space in airplanes.
I don't even know if he's the one complaining. He's just like everybody else complains to him. But the next guy, I know you have some feelings about him because you covered him year 1. You know, don't call me Jay. What is his full name?
Jonathan.
Don't call me Jonathan Adams. Man, I forgot his first name. What do you think? Is Jay Adams, don't call me Jonathan Adams, overrated, underrated, or just right?
He's overrated. Jay has, I thought the first year, I know he put up better stats last year, but I think the quarterback play in New Orleans is pretty good. But I think over the 3 years, he has decreased his value, in my opinion. But his name still carries some weight here. He only has 15 catches this year. Yes, I know he plays in Memphis, who might be one of the worst offenses, but they got flipped, right? So, like, he's in that system for the second year. He should be able to stand out a little bit. He really hasn't. 15 catches, 1 touchdown. He had Case Cookers, who is considered the best USFL quarterback outside of Alex Magoo. Yes, the offensive line's not protecting, but it just seems like he's not connected and not successful like he was in 2 years ago and even last year. So I think he's overrated. I think his name is carrying a lot of weight here. And to go back to 2022, Stamp. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember that. I was in that press conference. I love that you put him overrated. I agree. First year, he didn't even have that great of stats. He just had the one-handed catch And he had some really big plays in big moments.
But he had Kyle Sloter throwing.
He had Kyle Sloter throwing it to him. I get it. You know, the dude's better doing YouTube quarterback tutorials than throwing the ball. I get it. But last year, I thought he was very consistent. I thought he elevated his play last year. I thought he looked better. I thought that was when NFL teams would look at him. He was more consistent. He was sure-handed. He was not just the deep ball guy, but he was also catching it over the middle and short stuff and being, you know, the sure-handed. This is the guy we need to get the ball into his hands for MBT last year. But then this year, he has some drops this year. He has some big plays, but it's like he regressed from last year back to first year, but with even less big plays. So I get it. And I love the fact that you made the man overrated. But
isn't
the next one...
Isn't he the guy that Lowe has like the custom made bobblehead doll?
Yes. It's like a mini figurine of his one-handed catch, which is still awesome. And I mean, that's like a pivotal moment in USFL history. That was such a cool... It's one of those UFL moments where you're like, what were you doing when you saw Jay Adams catch that one-handed pass? I was putting together my bar cabinet for our dining room. I know exactly what I was doing, but I digress. Who is the next person that you have for me?
I want to hear some truth bombs about my boy Davin Bellamy. I covered him the first year with the Breakers. He went to the XFL. He's a great interview. I love watching this guy. He messed with Baker Mayfield in the Rose Bowl back when he was at Georgia. He's a great talker. He's entertaining. He's a good guy. He talks about mental health. He's got a lot of good things. He's at a crossroads, just like the rest of the DC team. And I just want to hear the truth, an outsider point of view. So go for it.
Outsider point of view. Okay. Overrated. Overrated. Man, I like Davin. I think he's a good leader, but he has failed to produce this year on a defense that is fully built around rushing the quarterback, that is bringing too many people to be taking on double teams, that should be a defensive lineman's dream. He has zero stats. Like, if you go look at the defensive players, the top 100 defensive players in stats in the UFL right now, he's not on the list. Top 100 defensive players, he's not on the list. The reason that I put Chris Odom as just right and Davin Bellamy is overrated is because Chris Odom was at least up there. He was in the 80s. You know, he was in there with a good amount of other defensive linemen who are still, you know, notable. And you're like, okay, I get it. Davin wasn't even on there. I don't even remember what I had to filter it by to find his stats. But even when I finally filtered it by something, maybe tackles for loss, I think he has 1.5 tackles for loss. He was still like number 79 on that list. The dude has no stats. He's got no highlights. He's not, I don't know, man. Like, I get it, be a leader and stuff, but he's producing zero this season. Like, him and Reggie Northrup are two of the biggest regressions I've seen on the defensive side of the ball going into the season 2 on a defense. Crazy, dude.
Yeah, I understand. I've been living this life for 5 weeks now.
Yeah.
Malik Fishers and Robertson are the only
shining
standouts.
Lights. Malik Fisher is a baller this season.
But those guys are 25, 26, and Bellamy's and then at 29. And I think that's the end of the road for a lot of players that don't put a lot of into their body, and where it's 100% all the time training. They have to live life a little bit differently than
make money
the top professional athletes. So
I will say, this season has been the season that really showed the difference in age, which is crazy. Yeah. So, you know, the talent threshold raised because we had a merger, we had a bigger talent pool, a lot more talent in this league. And the people who are aging, it really showed this year. Davin Bellamy, Reggie Northrup, Vito Victor, dude, like all these guys who have been staples in these leagues, suddenly the talent raises and, you know, they're getting another year older. Like Vito was already a pretty old running back when the USFL started. We're 3 years later. So these guys, it's just showing that age does catch up to you and their stats are just, it's like a bell curve, man. Like you get heated up, you're going up, you're there, and then it just plummets. So that is something that I've noticed this season.
So do you think GMs, and I think so, GM should look for those 24, 25.
100%.
The guy that you guys just signed, right, is the 2024 UFL draft. If you can mix some of those guys with guys that are like 26, 27, getting towards the end, and just that's how you cycle them in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing that I think is very good about the Roughnecks defense right now is we do have some young guys and we do have some older guys. Like last year, the Gamblers defense, like average age was 25. It was crazy. And so there were some moments where, you could tell the leadership wasn't there and things would break down. Whereas this year, I feel like it's a better mix. We're just not producing. Where then you look at the DC Defenders, where it is a lot of older guys. And I think that does play a part into the fact that in the fourth quarter, they couldn't keep up. Like, you can want it all you want. Once you hit 30, dude, playing a full football game, you hit that fourth quarter, and you're feeling it a lot more than those 20, 24, 25-year-olds. And so I think that does play into the fact that the DC defense fell apart. And, Davin Bellamy has no stats and is overrated.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about my next guy who is old but is still producing. I want to know what you think of Luis Perez.
He's just right, man. Like when you think Luis Perez, you think spring football.
You think spring football, baby? That's right.
He is that guy. He leads the league in passing yards right now. Completion percentage, I think he's the top guy. He's cagey. He's a veteran. Is he winning right now? No, he's angry. He's a bitter old man. I love
that you can see that he's taking it serious.
Like he's visibly angry. Like when you watch Tiamu and all the other quarterbacks, like you don't know what they're really thinking, but like you could tell. Like this
wearing his heart on his shoulder pad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I think he's just right. I think he's the fourth, fifth best quarterback in the league. I know he's got the number one stats, but I think he's the fourth, fifth best quarterback. Do I think he's going to the NFL? Probably not. I think he's spring football legend. It's really cool that the first USFL, XFL, and the UFL touchdowns he got them all.
He threw all.
He has a championship. He has a championship. If we start a Hall of Fame for spring football, this not counting the '80s USFL, he's the first ballot guy. Like
I argue to say that he's the first guy that should be in.
Yeah, Scooby should too. He was an.
No, I'd agree. Too. I'd agree. Okay, so those I feel like those are the only two dudes. Like if you're gonna look at spring football Hall of Fame, this is a great fan question. I kind of asked it already online, but I would love next week do it. I think like top tier, first two dudes you have to let in, Scooby and Perez, and then everybody else is underneath in tiers. I think they're the top two. Yeah. They've been in them all, they've produced in them all, and they've been loved in them all. And it's just
I'm gonna add one name. I'm gonna add one name to that list. Kobe Johnson.
Fair.
Yeah. But I actually in the off season we could do a whole episode on our Hall of Fame. We create our own Hall of Fame.
That's pretty dope.
Spring football Hall of Fame, and we'll try to bring the player on or something. I don't know.
I want them to send me something of theirs, and I'm gonna like create the Hall of Fame here.
Make it. There you go. Yeah. Well, we'll just get nice thick graphics and just like.
Yeah, right.
I'm just kidding. You do a great job on the graphics.
Thank you.
Giving you a hard time.
All right, so our final guy. Who you got for me?
Yeah. Former New York Giant, former Clemson Tiger, current St. Louis Battlehawk, running back. He showed some life this past week. Wayne Gallman.
Nope. I don't care that he showed life, man. I don't care. I still think Jalen Sailors is the best on that team. I still think he's overrated. Everybody wants to say, dude, even I was a part of it before the season. Everybody was like, this is the best offense. They have all the pieces, and in the backfield, they have Wayne Gallman, and he wasn't it. He's not that guy. He was getting stopped. He wasn't showing explosiveness. Like, yes, he had some good plays this week, but Sailors is still the best running back and should be the number one running back on that team. And I think that he was a big name coming in, but that name just didn't hold the water. What do you think?
He's 29 years old. I was just looking up his age because
imagine being 29 playing running back. Crazy.
Yeah, and being in the NFL, and he wasn't like practice squad NFL. He was actually on an active roster.
Dog, I started this guy in fantasy.
Yeah, so he was there with Deshaun Watson at Clemson and everything. He's a legend. I think he's at the end of the road, and I think him being a second running back is not a bad option.
I don't either.
He was able to produce a little bit behind Sailors. I think he'll give them tough yards. He found the end zone this past week. I think he's just right. If you don't think of Clemson, maybe New York Giant beginning of his career, Wayne Gallman, I think if you just realize he's a spring football running back, he's just about right. You're going to say West Hills, but I would take Wayne Gallman equally to West Hills. So that's just me.
Interesting. Agree to disagree on that one. But
yeah, that's fine.
But you kind of caught me off guard there. But you know what's really going to catch us off guard? KB's Blindside.
All right, gentlemen. Are people going to stay interested, even though the playoff picture could be determined as early as week 7 or 8 in a 10-game season, with teams separating themselves from the pack this early by a wide margin? Will the casual fan even notice it, or are we going to see ratings to drop because of it, especially because this past weekend was the first week where we saw ratings take a significant dip?
Shoot, I don't know.
I think it's not good. Like, I guess part of my reasoning for picking Arlington is to keep that playoff spot alive for Houston and Memphis, which is kind of crazy because I should be rooting for Arlington and DC to stick close with St. Louis and San Antonio because their fans actually show up to the game and it looks better on TV. So I should be rooting for the XFL to turn muddy instead of the USFL, which I think is really going to turn it into a fist fight all the way down to the end. I don't think Michigan's going to run away with it personally. I think either you or Memphis, Houston or Memphis will figure out a couple wins and Michigan will take a nosedive a little bit. But I think it's terrible for the league. I really do.
Yeah.
Right now, we're all just waiting for a lot of us, not me, waiting for the Stallions and Battlehawks in the championship game.
Yeah.
In St. Louis, where it's going to be 40,000 people, everyone's just waiting for that. And we're 5, 6, 7 weeks away from it. And I think it's going to be San Antonio before St. Louis, but whatever.
Dude, I agree. Like, when I looked at the game picks this week, it was like 1, 2, 3, 4. I knew exactly who was going to win. I didn't really have, I didn't feel confident, like, ooh, I don't know, this one's a toss-up. I was like, I'm pretty confident these 4 teams are going to win. And that's not how it felt the past 2 seasons. You know, there was some parity and you felt like people could beat other people. And the fact that you're right, people are basically waiting for St. Louis and Birmingham. I personally am trying not to, but even I talked to my wife this week. I was like, hey, we should probably book our tickets for the championship to go fly there. Cause like, I don't know. I think it's going to be St. Louis and that place is going to be packed. So we might need to get the tickets early. Like, I'm already trying to plan it because I think it's going to be the Stallions and Battlehawks. And I think it's bad for TV. This is not good football. Watching 4 games where it just ends with them curb stomping the other team is not good football. The fact that the beginning of the season, we had, I think it was like 9 of the first 12 games were decided by a score. Great football. This past weekend, not great football. Pretty brutal. We watched 4 teams just get the life knocked out of them. It was tough. We really need to see these teams come back on. You know, a lot of people say that last year, the Luis Perez trade at the end of the season, that was somehow orchestrated by the league because they wanted to see the team stay competitive. Let's do it, man. Let's do it. Force Zach Potter, who I shared an elevator with this past weekend. We went up to the press box together. But force Zach Potter to send Matt Corral.
Man, that's like my life goal, man. Like man, shoot.
Yeah, I looked at him. It was just it was super. It's a small elevator. Like, Rice press box is not awesome. And so we got in the elevator and I looked at him. I was like, youngest GM in the league. How you doing, man? And one of the other coaches with him was like, youngest GM in the league. And Zach kind of looked like embarrassed. He was like, how you doing, man? And
yeah.
I don't know. It was a weird exchange, but it was fun, and it was still Zach Potter.
Me and Zach are tight, man. We're tight. We're tight. I'm loved by him.
Super duper
I know
tight.
I am.
But I think, maybe some trades need to happen. Maybe we send some good players to other teams to see if we can get a spark. I don't know, but we need better football. I don't think ratings get better if the football keeps being lopsided. It's not fun to watch. I get it. Alabama fans love Alabama, but when you're watching, the normal casual fan does not enjoy watching Alabama beat the hell out of Florida International. That's not fun. You need to have a game where you're not sure who's going to win. And we're getting away from that in this league. So I'm scared of that. But I hope it gets better.
Especially as the weather warms up, in the cities that aren't markets, really. Outside of DC and Michigan, the weather is warming up a lot in the Northeast.
People are going to go outside. They're going to do other stuff.
That's a TV audience that you need. I know those actual TV numbers. Did you see the TV numbers talking about that?
No, I was.
Where they broke it down by market. Birmingham doesn't pay for tickets. They watch it on TV. They were the number one market. So just so you know. So
weird.
It's tough living out there in Alabama.
Yeah, you have to live in Alabama.
It's tough.
So.
Yeah.
KB, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, we're going to leave it there. We ain't going for it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Well, that is it. That's all we got. Here's to hoping that the games this weekend are much better than we expect them to be. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know your drink of choice during the games. We'll see you next week. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching the UFM United Football Media. If you like that, please make sure to like and subscribe. Also, if you want more videos, you can check them out on our channel over here. The best one for you is right here. And then if you liked mine, the rest of my playlist is right here. Thank you guys, and I hope to see you next time.